Dyer wrote once that infinite patience delivers immediate results. And you reminded me of that as you were talking, because I do agree with you 100%. I try to live my life in the same way, where because focus in the past leads to suffering, focus in the future leads to anxiety, right? None of which, like you say, exist.
Exactly.
The past is a memory, the future is a thought. And it's not, like you said, it's not like, you're just going to, not care about the future. You have to plan, we have to, make, projects and see things through. But it is about, the key word there is that patience. To make a lot of good todays requires some patience, right?
A lot of patience.
A lot of patience. And it is that patience that I think, people like you, people like Joe, who have had a lifetime of resilience with sports, tend to have, that patience, because you know it from a sport. I do it also from as an amateur musician. I play the guitar, and just like as an athlete, a musician, you're not gonna pick up the guitar and be good right away. It becomes a conglomerate, an accumulation of a lot of todays, and then someday
You might be good.
you might be good, right?
There is a good book called The Outliers. I don't know if you heard about it.
Outliers?
Outliers, sorry, Outliers.
Yeah, Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Gladwell, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Gladwell.
10,000 hours.
Yeah. So whatever you're doing in life, whether it's you want to be a good drummer or good at playing guitar, or want to be a good singer or a good writer, or want to be a good athlete, for example, a good soccer player or a good tennis player, whatever, you need to reach this 10,000 hours. Once you reach this 10,000 hours, you will be a pro. Now, what happens today? When you watch Kobe Bryant, he was training like 7 to 8 hours a day since he was a young child, 7. He reached this 10,000 hours within, I don't know, until he was 18, 19. And there are a lot of athletes, they're like 20, 21, not yet satisfied with their careers. And they train a lot, but they think they train a lot. But when the analysis was made, for example, they train every day. They think with 21, they're on 4,000 hours, not even close to 10 hours, but I have a feeling that they are near these 10,000. So, and they will be near 10,000, but when they're 30 and not so good anymore. So the formula to become very successful at young age, I mean, we talk primarily about the sports here because this is the physical thing, and you can be physical after 32, 33, 35, depends on a person. So if you want to become a successful athlete, you shouldn't be worrying so much about how much goals are you going to score or what will be your performance today. You should be worrying, when will I hit this 10,000 hours, and during performing I will just do my best and the results will come. If you do 10,000 hours until 20, I promise 99% of the athletes will be professionals, very good professionals.
No, that's yeah. I love that book. He gave so many examples there. He talked about the Beatles. He talked about Alex Rodriguez, and other professional athletes. And you're right. It is about that mindset. It is about that patience. It from working out. I always tell people, it's like, if you go to the gym today, and you work out for an hour, and you go home and you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Nothing changed from one time.
Nothing.
Or second time or third time. It is, you have to have the patience until it happens. And similarly, the opposite side is like, if you go to the gym today for 10 hours and then you go home and watch, what are you going to see? You're still going to see nothing. You may actually get injured, in fact, if you do too much.
Exactly.
There's that balance.
And what you're saying, a lot of people who are not athletes are making a very big mistake, very big. If you want to become athlete, you need to be patient. If you want to become fit, healthy, you need to be patient. And the thing is, most people who don't have the background of sport, they they want to start training, they find something that is super hard, like 75 hard or some programs. They do very hard diets and they have this short-term intensity, but after 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they simply give up. The important thing here is you don't have to outperform yourself every day if you want to be fit, like recreationally fit or happy. You simply have to show up every day. Don't kill yourself with heavy workouts every day or super strict diet plan. Just create a habit that is long-term accessible to you, that you can do over a period of time. Again, as I said, like in the mornings, not too easy, but not too hard. So basically, what I want to say is that long-term consistency always beats short-term intensity. Let's put it like that. This is the
Great thought. Great thought. I 100% agree. I have seen that in my life, and it's the beautiful thing. And I love your thoughts on this because you said that you're a new father. You know, you have small children. Now my children are probably, my daughter's probably as old as you are.
No, 33?
No, not 33. She's 26, turning 26. You know, I have.
You put tax on her years, and you get my years. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I have 3 kids. You know, that she's turning 26. My son is 24, and my youngest is 21. And you know, I wish I knew what I know now, because back when they were little, I was just an engineer. You know, I was traveling the world. I was really busy being a provider. You know, society molds you into believing things that you need to be and believing things that you need to do in order to be winning, in order to be a good member of society. So I missed out. I missed out on a lot of my kids' young age, you know, young years, because I was just working too much to try to give them a wonderful life.
Were you like aware of it, or?
Sometimes I was, and sometimes I wasn't. You know, and even the problem is that when I became aware of it, I found a way to justify it. Because,
Rationalizing.
Look at what I'm providing. You know, we have a beautiful home. You know, we live in a country club. You know, we have all this stuff. We travel all over the world on vacation, right? So you find your mind betrays you sometimes when you have a feeling that you have to make a change, but then you use the rational mind to undo that, right?
Yeah, but the emotion behind it is completely different.
Correct. So yes, you know, absolutely right. And I could look back and it's, you know, I made those mistakes, you know, and I still believe I was a good father, you know, and I was a good husband. I'm no longer married, you know, but at the time I thought I was doing the right things. But I think to bring that into the conversation we're just having is about that patience, because the same patience you need to have with yourself if you're trying to get into a particular level of fitness, or if you're trying to build a business, right? Or if you're trying to, you know, finish a particular project, it's the same type of patience you need in order to be able to be a good father to your kids, or a good brother to your siblings, or a good son
I think
to your
to
parents.
be a good father also requires the 10,000 hours.
You're absolutely right. You know, and nobody taught me that. I mean, my mom and dad, they did the best they could with what they had, right? And they came from a different generation, you know? And then, you know, you try, as to try to be a good father, what I did is I looked at all these people in my life that were older than me, and I tried to pick the best parts of all of them. But even that was biased, right? So, because you expect the results, and you expect, at least I did, you know, and this was one of my mistakes, I expect to tell my children something, and then I expect them to understand it, and then I expected them to use that and carry on, you know, with that new knowledge.
But it
that's
didn't
hard.
integrate. It didn't integrate.
Exactly. It takes time. It takes a lot of love, time, patience. In a similar way that you have to love yourself, and you have to give yourself the time, and you have to give yourself the patience to build a body that's fit.
But how to find that balance between chasing the career, which you want so hard, and then again having all this time to really integrate something meaningful in your children? It's actually A
It's not
very big
easy.
challenge. Maybe impossible for a lot of scenarios.
It is impossible in the sense of how we expect it to uh, to manifest itself, right? But it's not impossible if you have that mindset that you just talked about of yesterday doesn't exist, tomorrow doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is this moment, and the only thing that I have is this moment
Today.
with my kid,
Yes.
right? And this particular moment, we're working on this, we're playing this, we're
But when you play, you really play. You don't just
exactly,
play so it looks like you play. You're really the part of that play. Like you
exactly,
are their age and you are playing. I think, you know, the quote says from Chris Williamson podcast, amazing quote. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. And it's 100% true.
yeah,
And we can use it like exactly here on kids. You play with kids, maybe you don't want to play, you want to do it's boring, but just try. Play like you have 5 years, like you are 5 years old, and the fruits you will get afterwards will be amazing. The feeling you will have afterwards when you really give your presence and your time truly, fully you, when you give your full self to your children for 30 minutes is much better than giving yourself for 2.5 hours and being on TikTok, you know?
right.
So basically, just go all in, whatever you do during that day. Be fully present, and you will enjoy the fruits later. But you have to be patient, as we said. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is. It requires patience and it requires attention and intention. So, what are some of the things you do today to keep yourself in that path? You know, I tell my kids, like, you know, you choose a path. You know, I choose a path of trying to be aware. I choose a path of questioning all my thoughts. I question all my feelings. I question all my emotions. I look at my tools that I have, and I'm always reviewing them
Okay.
because the tools that work for me, you know, 20 years ago when I was your age, right, don't may not work anymore, right? So, what are some of the things that
Yeah.
you do to keep yourself, you know,
I
honest
think I
with
have a
yourself?
very good answer to that. And what works for me, Atomic Habits, you know, the
Yep,
book,
that's a
right?
great book.
So there is a very good saying, verse inside a verse, you say verse in English, right? You don't raise to the level of your expectations, rather, you fall to the level of your systems. So, how do I keep myself on that path? The answer, I don't overthink about it, or think so much about it anymore. I simply created the good daily systems. I have a good schedule. A lot of things are scheduled, and I'm simply performing them. When I was doing my schedule, I really thought about it carefully. And I changed it over time a few times, but now it sticks for 2 years already, the same schedule. So I basically have the good systems, and that's keep me here, you know. Sometimes maybe I do reflect, but I don't like to overanalyze it. I simply like to be, let's call so the I act on a good systems, and I show up every day, and I'm just doing what I have on this schedule, and they're like fixed stuff on my schedule which I'm doing every day, and they simply keep me on the right track, on the right zone. This is, I think, the best answer I can give you to that. Sometimes the reflection is good, but maybe once a week. Like, you can just go all the time and ask yourself, at least me, what am I doing wrong? Why am I doing that wrong? Because you will also then lose a lot of presence. And when you there is you should plan like for 45 minutes, let's call so, and then you have 1 year of execution. Let's call this a ratio. But these 45 minutes needs to be really well planned, and you really you really need to give yourself into these 45 minutes, and it will shape your next, I don't know, 1 month, 2 month, or 1 year, who knows.
When did you learn this? Is this something that you've been doing
Well,
recently? Somebody teach you this,
I
or did you
had
have that mindset since you were
when I
young?
was when I was young, I had some mental issues, something like OCD style, but I was a lot of into analysis, and it really hurt my quality of life, and I was really frustrated. So back then I thought it was like shame to have it, that this is the tragic that I have something like that. That's why do I have it? But because of that, I started to work on myself a lot, reading, exploring, doing spiritual works, spiritual stuff. I really do a lot of work on myself, and read, listened, practiced on my own, and it led me to this. I don't know. A few years ago, I completely stepped out of this OCD issues, but the mentality stayed. The growth, I get the growth mentality because of that error, because of this bug I had in myself. So I'm grateful for that, because without it, pretty much I would be in this comfort zone. It would be good, and I would never try to go above it. But right now, I'm on a path that the grinding path that
Oh, that's
brings
wonderful.
wisdom and growth. Yeah.
It's wonderful. You know, you said something there that reminded me of, in engineering, we have a saying. And this saying, the original person who said this, I forget his name. He was one of the original software writers, back, many years ago. And he said something that now it's been expanded outside the world of software development, which basically says that a product reflects the inadequacies of the organization that created it, right?
Like you said, like what was the name? What did you say about we create something and then we become it.
And then it creates us back, or
Yeah.
it designs us back.
Designs it, really.
And what he was trying to do is, like, if you're talking about your system, your method, your process, right? And if you're intentional at creating a process that is good for you, you're going to end up with the results of that process.